Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor and I help people navigate through their spiritual awakening process. And this video is going to share with you 2 reasons why it's so freaking hard to find your purpose. And also 2 different ways you can find it a lot sooner. Okay, why is it hard to find your purpose? I know you all watching this, if you're going through this awakening, you have a sense of purpose. And you probably have no idea what it is. You probably have a lot of ideas what it might be. But all these ideas, you can't really seem to get your foothold. There's nothing that really has satisfied that longing you have in your soul to find it. You have not found it yet. Okay? And here's one of the reasons why. Because you're living in a time where your purpose is, it could very well be something that doesn't exist. A lot of times we try to filter our purpose through what is already here. Well, I can be a doctor, or a lawyer, or own a gas station, or be a therapist, or a whatever. But none of these things that you might have a lot of different interests, but none of them are quite it, right? Look at me. I've become a spiritual awakening coach and mentor. Who the hell? You had told me that 5 years ago, I would have just laughed. Said, what the hell is that? It doesn't even exist. What are you talking about? I had this strong desire to help people, and I've tried to do it in many different ways. For a while I was studying psychology at college and I was going to be a psychologist, and I just started talking to some actual psychologists and realized just how heavily restricted you sort of are in doing things the way you want to do it. I felt like there wouldn't be any freedom. So I became a personal trainer. I got to be myself. A real good personal trainer is basically a therapist anyway, and I was able to help people with these deep issues, which would give them tangible fitness results. But then I got sick of working with lazy people. 9 out of 10 people, they didn't want to change. They wanted some quick fix. And I just tried all these different things over and over and over. And then all of a sudden I just started getting recognition on my YouTube channel. The way I could tell people were responding, I just started talking. This is my personal channel, Victor Odo. Where I started talking about whatever I wanted to talk about. And sure enough, it's at the time I started this, I had 5 YouTube channels, 5 blogs, 5 different purposes I was experimenting with. And this is the one that sort of took hold. And it just sort of went from there. Because I was destined to do something that is fairly new. It's relatively new. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have that as well. In fact, I know that. Because I speak to a lot of you through coaching or Skype sessions. And many of you have shared with me, I always ask, what do you really want to do? And some of the ideas you guys have are new. But that's so scary. That's so freaky to start something new. There's no stability in that. There's no safety in that. You also got to pay the bills and stuff, right? Well, I'll tell you this. You're going to keep running into dead ends until you finally just do that thing that scares you the most. Number 2 is a totally different yet valid reason why it can take some time to find our purpose. We have to go through a certain amount of our life path and experiences so that when we do find it, we are the people we need to be, ready to do that thing. If I would have never, say I would have found my purpose at 15, well, how good of a coach would I be? I would have never become an addict and overcome addiction. I would have never had my spontaneous, random, wild, out of the freaking blue, psychedelic, mushroom-inspired Kundalini experience. I would have never went and did all these wild things I've done and started businesses and I went into like hiding for a couple years, just studying and meditating. Did all these different things that right prior to finding that purpose of mine, they all seemed like a waste of time. Like they didn't really lead anywhere. And yet, now that I've found my thing, I can draw upon all of them. Every moment of my life has had purpose all along. And I use it in just the most beautiful, perfect way. It somehow is now assisting me in doing what I'm doing and making me the person I am now. So maybe it's not ready yet. Some of you guys are very young watching this, and you just haven't gone through enough of life yet. And the way to speed that up, let's get into that now. One of the ways is just to experiment with things. So that's what I did. I came to a point where I mentioned in a previous video where I owned a gym and I owned a medical marijuana grow operation. Both were somewhat successful, supported me and my family, and I had a pretty good lifestyle, and yet they became so unsatisfying that I felt so strongly guided just to shut it all down, and I did. And I found, because it was just time to find my purpose, I knew it was time. I've avoided it long enough, and it was calling me. So, but I didn't know what it was. And that was quite extremely frustrating. So I just started trying, experimenting with things. I had some ideas what I thought it might have to do with. So I would dedicate myself to one or two of those things for a little while to give myself enough experience with it so I can decide, is this it or is this not it? And it was so devastating sometimes when I would put a lot of energy into something. Like, I have another YouTube channel. It was called Sustainable Six Pack, and there's over 100 videos there and like 100 subscribers, just to give you an idea. It was not it. I thought it must be fitness. I was a fitness guy. It's got to be fitness, right? I could be a fitness guy. I see these fitness YouTubers. I could talk. I know as much as them. It wasn't, and that was devastating. All the time and energy I put into that thing, it went nowhere. But it got me practice making YouTube videos, and it sort of helped me in this area. But again, I tried that as well as many other things. I wasn't afraid to experiment, and though I hated the feeling of failure, I still put myself out there. Number 2 is to do your best. Not that this is possible, at least for me, to do at all times. Sometimes rarely, honestly. But do your best to keep your life in a spiritual context. Like, okay, on one hand, like I said a minute ago, I quit my jobs. And for a while, I didn't know where the money was going to come from, and I had a family to feed. That's scary as hell, right? But from a spiritual perspective, I do know at the core, this is not my first lifetime. This is not my last lifetime. This is really just a game of learning experiences just for the hell of it. Just to say, hey, we're kind of tired of floating up in the ethers. Let's go challenge ourselves in this crazy-ass earth realm where you forget you're a spirit. And you got to like find your way back. It might take several lifetimes. So in the context of all that, which I do believe, quitting your job it's not a big deal. You really can't go wrong. You really can't fail. Your soul is wise enough to use any temporary setback in a positive way. And just remind yourself of that. Remind yourself of your eternal, the fact that you're an eternal soul. And number 3, just get used to failure. Get used to failing. Be willing to fail. Be willing to make mistakes. Napoleon Hill says in one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, that he labels failure as, there's no such thing as failures. There's temporary setbacks. And every quote-unquote failure, which again in his definition is a temporary setback, holds with it an equal positive opportunity. So really, every failure, you're getting something positive. It's like two sides of the same coin. So there's no such thing as failures in their entirety, because there's a whole other side of it that is positive. It's positive information and positive feedback, and it just gets you closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to where you want to be. But again, or you could do what on one hand, I did this very quickly. On the other hand, I resisted for a long time. I clung to things that I knew were no longer should be part of my life. To grow especially. I started getting synchronicities like this thing was going to blow up or start the house on fire, some crazy shit like that. And I started getting all these, and all these weird experiences would happen, all these crazy problems I'd run into. It was life pushing me out of that, and I clung to it because I was so scared. I was like, what am I going to do without it? That's crazy. I can't stop this. What am I going to do without any money? Lo and behold, I never actually ran out. I finally found my purpose, and I can't tell you how good it feels. I can't express into words how good it feels. And I know you'll have that same exact depth and degree of satisfaction that I have. And that's why I made this video. Because it's important that we, the ones who are waking up now, find our purpose and get on with it. Okay? And you can speed that up using these simple techniques I just mentioned that they're easy to understand, not easy to apply. But I trust you guys have the courage to apply them just fine, okay? So with that, I'm going to close, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the love and the support and the comments. I just recently had an opportunity to talk to a lot of you guys. I started this coaching program, and I was doing a bunch of interviews, and it was just so touching, some of the things you guys had to say about me and like the effect I had on your life. It's so Beautiful. And I know you guys are going to find that same thing too, because you didn't come here just to have a purpose of doing something for your own benefit. You came to help. And you're gonna have this feeling I have right now as well, I promise you. But you got to go find it. You got to go do it. You got to get yourself out there. Say, I wish you luck with that. Have an amazing day. God bless.